Thank you for associating me into this very important event. I think Dr. Atela and Cyprus are going to confirm that I was taken really a little bit by surprise because they come to me and they wanted me to be the moderator. I guess the first moderator that was approached probably has difficulty or some kind of other business to take care. So it's my pleasure and an honor to be among you. But it's always thrilling to be among all of this summit because I can tell you, and this is no shame to affirm that I'm the least English speaking among the group, and this is why I'm the focal point of Francophone Africa. And the other thing is I'm the least academician among all of you, not because I didn't have the credential that are required to join the group, but in fact, in conducting my research for a PhD in the pursuit of economic growth and trying to compare, do an examination of the crossing trajectory and probably a contrasting outcome between Ghana and Senegal, that are two countries with different background in colonization, but really have some similarity in population and the way they started their economic trajectory, but with different outcomes. I find out that probably the most frightening things is academicians do not really understand that their theory are probably hijacked by politicians. And politicians are always the least informed among us because you don't need to go do a PhD, do a doctorate, do research to become a politician. So whenever academician brought to you some idea, you try to streamline it in your interests with your electoral time, with your term time, and it's always fail at some point. Why is it in other continent, in European country, in America, this doesn't happen? Is because there is always a very clear distanciation between academician, researcher, and the politician. So this COVID-19 situation did help us a little bit to shorten that bridge in Africa. So what we see here, what we hear from Nora, and probably what our moderator are going to explain to us, is that we need to strengthen our science capability and make sure that whatever we have in theory, before we get it to the politician, we did find a good application, because this is the only way we can really success in what we are doing. And the COVID demonstrated that we have the same knowledge. The only thing that we lack is probably the equipment to put those applications into motion. So we will need to try to find out how to bring on board the private sector, the very one that have the financing, because it doesn't matter. We have research, we have all of these theory in our university, and we cannot put them into motion because we don't have the required financing. So myself, this is why I didn't go into teaching. What I did is trying to immerse myself into the private sector and look at where the financing is going to come from. And I think up to now, I'm succeeding on that, and this is what I want to bring on board with Aaron. Saying that, I think Nora and Kezia, you're going to give me the opportunity to come up with our moderator. We have I think 3 moderators. I'm gonna start with Dr. Roy Mugira. I don't think I'm going to butcher your name. Dr. Mugira is the director, scheduled science at the National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation of Kenya. He holds a PhD in the diagnosis of plant viral infection based on the alignment of their DNA sequence. He has research experience in the cloning of viral DNA genome into gene silencing vector for application in functional genomics. Dr. Mugira played a key role in the development of Kenya biotechnology development policy and the biosafety regulatory framework for genetically modified organisms. He is a member of the Biosafety Risk Assessment Panel of experts for the Cartagena Protocol on Biosafety and served as the acting Chief Executive Officer of the National Biosafety Authority, NBA, of Kenya at its formative stage. He has a wide experience in policy advisor for the governance of science, technology, and innovation generally, and biotechnology development specifically. Mr. Peter Kuria is the Director, Incubation and Innovation Management and founder, Startup Industrial Park. He has worked on policy research, institutional capacity, and system development and implementation of business incubation and innovation management program in Rwanda, in Kenya, in Malawi, in Finland, in Ghana, in Ethiopia, in Sudan, in Zimbabwe, in Mali, including Barbados. Peter has been a lead instructor and tutor on sustainable business innovation, technology development, and commercialization. Ms. Sarah Kajuju is a life purpose, youth career, and entrepreneurship and innovation coach trainer, and her passion lies in youth, personal, and career development, innovation, and entrepreneurship development, interpersonal and interpersonal mastery and communication, and leadership development and effectiveness. She is an adjunct lecturer at St. Paul's University. I think it's in Limuru campus in Kenya, in the area of entrepreneurship and innovation, communication, and business. The fourth one is Dr. Professor Joanna Chatway. Leads the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Public Policy Department at University College London in the UK. She has worked for many years in the area of public policy and has particular interest in science and innovation policy and health research and innovation policy too. This is a guidance. If we really want to stop here, what I want to do is to welcome all our panelists and all the participants and try to find out, calling one by one, what the panelists have come up to present us. So to start, Dr. Dr. Mugira. Dr. Mugira, Mr. Peter Kuria, and Sarah Kajuju, and Professor Joanna Chatway. I will give to each of you probably 1 minute to really introduce yourself before we get to the subject. Dr.
Thank
Mugira.
you very much. Thank you, moderator, and thank you, colleagues. Good afternoon again. Like you observed, this is afternoon in East Africa, Nairobi, and I'm delighted to join this team. You have done the introduction quite comprehensively. What I may want to indicate as I even pitch tent for social sciences in my next statement, I am a molecular biologist. So this is like a disclaimer that I am a scientist in the molecular biology of plant viruses. But what I have seen left behind in our response as research research and science policy to COVID-19 is the focus on social sciences. We have left out social sciences and the understanding of how social sciences work, considering also that a lot of responses that have been put in place to COVID-19 are social in nature. We speak about social distances. We speak about cleanliness, public health initiatives. And therefore, I want to say that what I have seen left behind is the social science, human behavior, psychology, psychosocial support, even philosophy, probably even religious components that come to help us to respond to this pandemic and future pandemics. And I will be able to say a few more things later in the panel discussion. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Mugira. Can I call upon Mr. Peter Kuria?
Hi, good afternoon and good morning to those who are not in our time zone. I'm very happy to be part of this discussion and thanks for organizing it. And I believe that there's a lot that we've learned from the emergence of COVID, and it gives us a very big open canvas to innovate. And I believe we've already had a very good introduction on the kind of innovations that are on board, the ones that have been maybe generated. And maybe something that clearly is lacking that we really need to pay a lot of attention is that the vertical knowledge breakdown, number one, is something that is very evident. We have knowledge that is very, very disparate, and with that kind of breakdown, we are not able to innovate. The second part that I feel also that we've really not put a lot of emphasis on is the investment in our own ideas and the investment in science and technology, because if you look around right now in Africa, across Africa, very few countries can comfortably say that they are financing whatever research thinkers, think tanks, research bodies. Very few can be able to stand on their feet and say that we are actually financing or investing in that. And that has a lot of implication on the kind of innovations that come and the agenda that goes into science and innovation. And then maybe the last part in terms of just my quick intervention is that the most positive thing that has happened without really a lot of copycat entrepreneurs has been the digital transformation, which everybody appreciates in the sense that digital solutions are very democratic in terms of the way they are done, and at times do not require a lot of resource input besides intellectual input. So I believe that as we are discussing the proactive nature of how we should be supporting innovation and how to do it, there's a lot of things that really need to be swept, and we need also to differentiate between innovation and opportunistic entrepreneurship, where a lot of what is happening is opportunistic entrepreneurship as opposed to innovation. So that is my quick intervention, and thanks for being part of this great discussion.
Thank you, Peter. And Miss Sarah, can you give us your overview of leading to the discussion that will follow?
Thank you very much, Dr. Faye. And I am glad to be here this afternoon. It's afternoon in East Africa where I sit. And my introduction was very well done. In fact, sometimes you sit back and wonder whether this is you being introduced. Thank you for that very generous introduction. As I look at innovation, science, and technology within Africa today, one of the things that keeps coming back and forth and disturbing my mind is our inability to fund our own innovations. There's a lot of funding that is coming from out there. And because I'm in the youth space, I have seen that that is a real missing gap. I don't know what is gonna happen, to make sure that we are able to fund our very own without relying on external support in being able to not only fund, but even support all the way in terms of production and market linkages and quite a number of other facets that are missing within our ecosystem. I'm looking forward to more discussions as we go on. So yes, I end my introduction at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Can I call upon Professor Joanna? Can you give us your point of view too?
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this meeting today. I think I share a lot of common ground with my fellow panelists. I am really interested in how we bring together various types of knowledge, our knowledge that is informed by science, our social science understanding, our perspectives and understanding on innovation processes, on our understanding of financing and how that happens best. How do we bring all together that knowledge to serve public good, to serve public policy aims which are relevant to society and the economies that we want to build? So I think I heard my fellow panelists say quite a bit about that, and I think we'll have a great discussion here today. Thank you so much for the introductory presentation. I found the video fascinating, and also the commentary around it, and I think it provides a very good starting point for the discussion we'll have this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are all set, and I will ask the audience to bear with us. It's not gonna be long, but we still have an hour and 10 minutes to go. You have the chat box to probably give your impression or ask question, but we will continue to develop this event. And as a moderator, I think this is a well-timed event. It's good to, COVID-19 is not yet really, it didn't leave us yet, but we need to step up this this kind of discussion in order to not to fall. When it's going to finish, we will be more prepared for another one, because there is not if, but when. But it's going to happen again. We will have to suffer another disaster. If it's not something like COVID-19, it will be something related to climate change, related to something that we probably as human being we're gonna provoke, and it's going to be very dire. So we have to, in Africa at least, we have to prepare for that. The only thing that I can say is no continent, no country has developed by using other country or other people technology. We have the technology in Africa. The only thing is, I will come back to that again. I think the starting point that we all know after the independence was something that was not good. So who is going to change it? Probably our generation didn't do much, but we have to make sure that our youngster, our student of today, can really take the way and do better than us. So, Dr. Mugira, this question is for you. Many governments have introduced measures to combat the spread of the coronavirus regionally, continentally, and internationally. A number of efforts have been developed. For example, the African Union Specialist Technical Committee on Education, Science, and Technology set up a ministerial dialogue among all the member states that are 25 to support the fight against COVID-19. This is really generic and broad. But how then can we build on the African Regional Organization and the network that we have to ensure that the science community can contribute positively to the fight against COVID-19? What are some of the national efforts ongoing to demonstrate this event as we seek regional integration? Can you give us your thought about that, Dr. Mugira?
Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you, Anthony. These are quite a loaded question, but I will make an attempt to focus on these. First, government efforts. I think we have seen a quick response by African governments to contain, especially the spread of the virus, and also to initiate the biological or health science research that is geared towards addressing this pandemic. More specifically, you have appointed moderator to the efforts by the African Union. one of the key aspects of a pandemic of this nature is that it does not respect boundaries. So whether a country has boundaries and neighbors, it's a pandemic that we all saw how it is spread. And what we can hinge on now as the science community is the opportunity that this effort collectively for AU presents, so that African scientists or the African science community can respond as a team, as a unit, despite, away from what we have been responding as individual countries, individual institutions, or even individual persons, so that we come together as a team, focusing on all the dimensions of the pandemic, the medical, biological sciences, the social sciences that I mentioned earlier, and even the financial. This, in my opinion, is what we want to hinge on as the scientific community in Africa. Quite a number of governments, I think the presentation that was given earlier on has really zeroed down on what has been happening in the continent, and I want to congratulate the team that has come forward to collect all this information and collate it in terms of the economic impacts and what governments have done. Nationally, in Kenya, we had developed earlier on, just before the pandemic, we launched the National Research Priorities, a document that responds to global priorities as have been set in the area of economic development and also in the area of science, technology, and innovation, coming down to the Africa Union priorities under the STISA 2024 and all the way to national priorities. In that document, we zeroed down on what is referred to in Kenya now by the current administration as the Big Four, which encompasses food and nutrition security, housing, manufacturing, and health. Incidentally, health, as you can see, is part of what was the focus. However, on the advent of COVID-19, we had to go back and quickly realign the priorities to now pick on the health priorities, which we had pitched on universal health coverage, to now respond more specifically to the pandemic that has come through. And the National Research Foundation of Kenya made a very specific call for research geared towards addressing COVID-19. That is what I can say at the national level, moderator, and also at the regional level. And that is where I see as hinging as the community of scientists in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, it's a very difficult question. We know that even the African Union is not yet achieved. So let's say here I have to say that probably we will have to forget about African Union and try to work on a regional scale base. I know for sure that at least 3 African regions are doing very well. East Africa is very well organized. West Africa have their ECOWAS performing. And in Southern Africa, you have, of course, South Africa that is leading the pack with the SADC. So researcher and policy maker with their network can probably help more in strengthening those building blocks and then bringing what's come up from there to be more continental. And this is why I'm going to ask Peter to let us know that the pandemic has led to a proliferation of innovation and has accelerated application of technology, including digitization, and in a way that we never imagined. But some of these technology are far from evenly distributed across the world and might leave African country leapfrogging and catching up. Striking the right balance with the crucial when it's come to safeguarding the potential of promising, albeit immature technology to serve the public interest. As an incubation hub accelerator, what are some of the innovation and technology that have been developed and support it? And how can we scale some of this technological innovation? Peter, can you bring your thought on that, please?
Unmute. Thank you, moderator, and for that introduction as well on this pertinent question, in the sense that we are looking at the proliferation of innovations and accelerated application. And I think what comes out clearly is that there is something that is missing in between, in the sense that we have those innovations happening, and they happen every day. And we have great ideas being generated, and again, every day. But there is a problem in terms of how those ideas are harnessed. First of all, to validate them, to protect them, and then to find ways that they can be released to the market as a viable enterprise which is solving a societal problem. So where the problem lies is bigger than just COVID at the moment, but COVID has given us a positive way of looking at how vulnerable Africa or the continent is in terms of the reliability and the dependence on each other to have things sort of running. But at the same time, it brings us back to this question of why are we not adopting things that are more sustainable, like, for example, circular economy. Now, when you go to that level, the thing that really comes out is that when you look at the spaces that allow young people to really curate their ideas or knowledge, or when you look at research institutions that have the resources, or when you look at universities where there's a lot of young brains that are willing to try out new things and risk. When you look at all those, you find that there's something that is missing in the way our education system is designed. We have been designed, or we have a system that is delivering a lot of information, but very limited digestion of that information to become knowledge that can inform innovation. And when that innovation appears, there's also another big gap, in the sense that when you have an innovation, it will not take itself to the market. There's a lot of effort that needs to come into that. And what is lacking is there is no investment that is targeted at the incubation acceleration framework. We rely on resources coming from outside. We rely on investors from outside. And this again points down to one extra thing, that is we, especially like from Kenya, we do not believe in investing in knowledge. We believe in investing in land, in cows, in houses, in cars, because we don't see how the knowledge can pay back in the future. And this is something that is repeated across Africa, in the sense that when we do not invest in knowledge, when you don't have a framework within which we can remunerate or celebrate our innovations, then what happens in the end is that we create an environment that is very demoralizing to new ideas, and we are very eager to go out and get solutions that are already prepackaged and bring them down to our environment. So in terms of what to be done, I believe is that we need to have a better innovation policy that is really having frameworks and guidance on what is expected out of an innovation. Because, for example, right now, if you go to Kenya or you go to any country, you'll find that there is very little in terms of frameworks that tell you that actually, yes, there is money that is able to get your innovation to the market. You can see the products or the outputs, which is the technology-intensive goods, scientific publications, citations of patents. We don't have that. So it means that as long as we are not thinking of, or as long as we're not putting mechanisms in place that are able to mobilize domestic resources and then get people to learn that they can invest in ideas in the young generation, and the ideas are equally as good as products, then we will remain discussing these things for a long, long time. Because right now, there is quite a big opportunity for us to internalize the problems that have emerged out of COVID and turn them around to become opportunities. And this is really where we should be focusing on to make sure that whatever solution that is emerging from anywhere is being curated properly with the scientific backing and protected properly for entrepreneurial growth and released to the market to solve a problem. So I believe there is a lot of investment again that needs to go down there, and not only to rely on investment from outside, we also need to start looking internally and mobilizing our own domestic resources to be invested in innovations. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. You did a good point, and I think this is something that we can really use to bring on board Ms. Sarah Kajuju, who from her background is a life purpose, youth, career, and entrepreneurship and innovation coach trainer. So Ms. Sarah, here is my own question. From the title of this seminar, and if I'm good in English speaking, harnessing is to make sure that we can carry on what we're trying to do. So how, from your perspective of working with youth and knowing that probably if any change is to happen, is going to be with that segment of our population, not to make the same mistake that probably the elder have made. So from your perspective, how can you make sure that harnessing the application of science, technology, and innovation in the fight, not only against COVID-19, but even for development purpose, can really take place during the next 10 to 20 years in Africa?
Thank you, Dr. Ari. Thank you, Doctor, for that. I think Peter has said much of what I would have loved to say in regard to this, but something I'd like to add is that the accelerators, the hubs, the ecosystem that is supporting innovation within Africa is doing a lot to help young people harness the ideas that they are bringing forth and the businesses that they're bringing forth, and bring out something great out of them, and also make impact into the future. And we have seen many of these come up. We have seen platforms that are sharing knowledge, virtual spaces that are supporting these young entrepreneurs. We have seen people come up. I mean, the clip really highlighted some of these things that young people are doing. But I think one of the things that I have found really missing is that we do not buy our own. We have failed to own our own products, you know, as Africans. And most often we will go out looking for solutions that have been made elsewhere instead of buying our own. And just like Peter said, I think there's a challenge of information overload, where we have lots of information. We know too much. We have so much knowledge, but we're not using this to create solutions that are our own, solutions that are very in line with what we go through, the challenges of Africa, you know. And many of this, when you see even the creation of them and the innovation of this, many people will reflect and look at what is happening out there instead of doing our very own and you know, creating solutions that are our own. So I think these are some of the challenges that we are facing. But there is so much that can be done. I know there's a lot of support from agencies that support young entrepreneurs in their innovations, and especially in the area of funding, in the area of creating ideas that are very viable and that are very suitable for the market. So I want to believe there is still so much that we can do and bring or create solutions that are very Africanized and that are in line with the challenges that we face. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Dr. Mugira, I'm trying to come back to you with a question, and then I'm going to move to the chat box because I think there is some interesting comment and question there. Dr. Mugira, the COVID-19 has exposed our inefficiency in our health, education, and agricultural institution, bringing a dilemmatic approach on what really should be founded. It has also shown how our African governments are very reactive as opposed to being proactive. Is the coronavirus bringing out the best in our policy discourse or the worst? Please, be concise.
Thank you, moderator. Again, indeed, I agree with the statement that this pandemic has brought out the best and also not the very good of us. I don't want to say the worst, but not the very good of us. I will point at the best in terms of collective action to innovate. The video that we have just seen is really an excellent expression of everybody went out, including the 13-year-old children, to find a way of making a contribution or even showcasing what they have in terms of innovating to address aspects that came in with the advent of the pandemic. That is the best in us. And therefore, I would want to read a statement that has been posted on the chat by Samuel Yube. He says that COVID-19 has shown that Africa needs to be proactive and futuristic. I would like to underline those two words, proactive and futuristic, in developing her solutions. We need to begin to expand capacity and add value to our product development using homegrown technologies. This needs to start now. I think this commentator has piqued our mind from even the number of panelists who have spoken ahead of me, that indeed we need to be proactive, to start before it happens. And if you allow me, moderator, I will share a little thoughts and even a story to conclude my input at this point so that we can go to question time. I teach the tent for social sciences early alone, and I want to give reasons for this. One time when we were students at the university writing our master degree program, the university organized a workshop on El Nino. You remember the rain pattern or the weather pattern that comes around and causes havoc all over. So environmental scientists, biology scientists like myself pitched a tent with papers on how biology, how environment, how physics, how chemistry, and so on. Then one student of, I think he was a religious studies student or a philosophy student, came up with a paper called Prophetic Utterances in response to El Nino. And we were all wondering. In fact, the panel that was reviewing papers for the conference, because it was made up of largely physical science experts, they were wondering, what is this for prophetic utterances? Fortunately, there was a linguistic professor in the team, and he dissected that, and the student was allowed to present. He surprised all of us by showing that there are utterances that come from people with messages that we need to pick, even if there is very little scientific connection. He was able to show the scientific connection from prophetic utterances. Having said that, moderator, I want to say that even before COVID became a reality, the former US president had said something about a possible pandemic. The former head of Gates Foundation, Bill Gates, also made statements that were pointing towards preparedness for a potential pandemic. Early on, there was even a storybook published which was going around the social media. It was a novel, a storybook showing a possibility of a pandemic. These are prophetic utterances, uttered at a click of the moment that we should pick and run with the science behind it. Now, coming down to even religious writings, literature, the Judeo-Christian Bible, and even the Quran, several other religious documents of the Hindu faith or even the Buddhist have prohibitions on feeding and even interacting with certain animals. I think you all know that the initial association of COVID-19 was related to some wild animal market or thereabout. So these prophetic utterances have a place in helping us to shape how we respond, how we prepare, how we become futuristic in terms of responding to this kind of calamities that may even not be pandemics. So my two key messages, moderator, is that we need to have a responsive policy that will respond quickly, high speed, robust policy foundations. And then we need to bring social science research at the center of what we do, because this has all to do with human behavior. Thank you, moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Mugira. This is indeed the very difficult balance to make. Is yes, we need to be formal thinker, but in the other side, we need to rely on really our faith, whatever it is. I can give you an example here in Senegal, where I am. 95% of Senegal is Muslim country with a very moderate way of following their religion. And what really shut down the government response was that resistance in like applying social distancing within masjid, because some interpreter of the holy book they take a side that was not really true, but since you are dealing with probably 50 or 60% people that following a faith without even having the time to know what really was into the book, the politician didn't use the good approach, because if you are to take the decision, whatever will happen, do not hesitate to apply it. So if you hesitate, you're going to probably have the contrary. And the contrary was that where we were faring, because Dakar is the capital city, but Dakar is not the most populous city. The most populous city is kind of a state into the state. It is a holy city that houses probably 3 to 4 million people. You cannot even know, because there is no statistic there. And it's belonged to a certain religious confrérie, Muslim confrérie, that have a very powerful economic impact on whatever you do in Senegal. So sometimes it's frightening for a politician to face those people and tell them that you have your things to do, and we have our things to do for the whole Senegal. And this is why probably if you want to have a very balanced answer and response to this kind of pandemic, you need to take it from different perspective. Saying that, with your authorization, Nora, I want to bring someone on the chat. Her name is Lynette, I think. And Lynette say that she's a member of governing council of a TVET institution and would like to share her experience. Lynette, can you take 2 minutes to tell us about what is your the will that you have to share your experience? Can we?
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. I've listened very carefully, though I was in and out. I'm teaching at the University of Nairobi's Institute of Diplomacy, and I'm doing my doctorate in international and technology. Now, I happen to be a member of the governing council of Sigalagala National Polytechnic. And Dr. Mugira talked about government efforts. in science and technology and innovation. And I am on the ground. I became a board member there at the beginning of this year. And we found that the government of Kenya has taken a loan, and we have equipment from China. When the COVID-19 started, we realized that we had the capacity to make masks, to make hand washing machines, to make beds. So we did a concept and very quickly started, at a small level, the production. Now, so what has happened? We did so well. We did, with the visibility and the innovation, the branding and everything. And we did our website, and our principal has been promoted and taken elsewhere. Now, I'm told that all the other TVET institutions in Kenya have similar equipment, which is lying there fallow. So even when you are talking about policy and all that, everything has been done, and the equipment is here. Now, the TVET sector happens to be one of the sectors where the failures, people who are branded as failures, are the ones who go and they train there. And they train, and when they come out on the market, the engineer who's from the university cannot innovate and come up with the products that this diploma or this certificate holder can. So I'm here, we are on the ground, and these things are possible, and Kenya is able to make its contribution in terms of getting the TVET its rightful place and do all the innovations. We don't need any masks from China. The Chinese have that equipment on loan, and nobody's even thinking of how this is going to be paid back. So here we are as a governing council. We have, I'm on the enterprise committee. We quickly constituted an enterprise committee where now we are trying to see how best we can get to make our beds, how we can, get all the medical beds that are being stored away, that are all the equipment in the hospitals that are being put aside, just because there is nobody who is able to repair them. So now, Mr. Peter Kuria has talked about, Mr. Dr. Mugira has talked about the social sciences. This is about people. This is about how the institutions the set of institutions that are supposed to take us out and even lead the technological innovation are the institutions that are being looked down, and they do not think that they can do this. This is a social thing. It is how we look at ourselves.
Thank you,
Okay, so
Lynette.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Lynette.
So everything is possible.
Yes,
everything is within our hands.
I think you made the point, and this is going to be add on what we are looking for is, and I'm coming back again to the title of this seminar, is harnessing is very important. I don't know who chose the wording, but this is really something that's going to be helpful. So your experience is going to be added into what we are trying to do, to have a good reference and creating the background to go forward and not coming back. I know for sure that we are running probably a little bit late, but I wanted to give the opportunity for our panelists before giving back the floor to Nora for the discussion to come up with a summary. So I will start by the lady, Miss Sarah. Can you give us probably your conclusion, your recommendation in 2 minutes, so that we can get back to Nora? Please, Sarah.